professional indemnity will cover the legal expenses associated with your case. Before we move on and look at a real-life claim story, it's also worth considering that professional indemnity policies often include what's known as run-off cover. Even if you cease trading, you could still be exposed to future claims, and run-off insurance is there to ensure that these claims would be considered under the policy and therefore not leave you personally liable and out of pocket. Professional indemnity policies generally operate on what we call an occurrence basis. This means that if there was valid cover in place at the time the alleged incident took place, insurers will consider the claim. So I'll give you an example. It's 2020 now, and I'm an accountant and I'm preparing a set of accounts for a client, but unfortunately I forgot to include a vital set of receipts, and therefore I miscalculated the level of tax they had to pay. The tax is generally paid a year in arrears or behind. So when making the declaration to the authorities, my customer actually gave an incorrect figure, and the tax authorities challenged that, and they've come back in 2021 and said, you've misrepresented on your tax return and we are going to fine you, and we also want you to pay the additional amount of tax. Now, for the customer, this wasn't their fault. This was the fault of the accountant in losing some vital data from the tax return. Because insurance is in place for the 2020 year, this claim could be considered under professional indemnity. So let's think about another real-life claim story, and here's one from a leading insurer specialising in professional indemnity for small businesses. So in this case, John was a professional IT freelancer, and he'd worked in software development for a number of years. He had experience of delivering projects to a range of clients in different sectors of industry, and he personally set himself very high standards for delivery. He was hired to develop a website for a company, and although he worked very hard, the project suffered a series of delays in the production stages and after it went live, and the claimant reported a high number of defects that they found in the website. The customer complained that the delays and the defects were all the fault of John, and as such made him liable for the money that they had lost. Luckily, John had taken out PI insurance, so he was covered for any compensation payment. The insurance company worked with him to finalise and analyse the claim, and they concluded that although there had been delays in finishing the project, these were not his fault alone, nor were the performance issues as bad as the customer had actually suggested. John accepted that whilst he tried his best, he hadn't actually delivered to the expected standard, and therefore he was prepared to accept a portion of liability. Insurers therefore decided to settle the case quickly by offering the claimant a reduced amount that they felt reflected the situation and the level of John's liability or fault. And this was accepted by the claimant, and the case was closed successfully. So as you can see, the value of a professional indemnity insurance is far greater than the premium that you pay. You may pay a few thousand dirhams, but you might save hundreds of thousands of dirhams. So this is really an insurance that's worth considering. I hope these snippets have answered all the questions that you have about professional indemnity. But if you need to know a little bit more, please feel free to reach out to any of us here at InsuranceMarket.ae. We'd be more than happy to help. Stay tuned for more snippets on more insurance issues.